Okay.
So you do need to know exactly what those two things mean. Fails to consider the possibility that just means, hey, you left this out, and that might be a problem. You know, basically it's, here's a thing you didn't think about that would be bad for your case.
Hmm.
Takes for granted is kind of the opposite of that. Takes for granted means necessarily assumes that this thing is true, right? So with C, it's like, hey, wait a second, you didn't mention this, and if this is true, you're in trouble.
Okay.
Whereas with takes for granted, it means, hey, you have necessarily assumed that this is true, and it's a problem that you did that. You have to know for sure that they have taken this thing for granted. You have to know for sure that they have necessarily assumed it. And I'm hammering on necessarily assumed because I want to make sure that you know what that really means. If this was a necessary assumption question, what would your analysis be? The phrase to remember is just the author must agree that this is true.
For sure.
Here, yeah, the author has to agree that that's true. So the author has taken that for granted, or the author has necessarily assumed that that is true. And for this question, we can say that that is a flaw. They did it, and it's a problem that they did it, right? They don't have any justification to make that assumption. So it's a, the, I'm glad you brought this question to office hours, Abby, because it really does demonstrate how similar the question types really are. Like, it's important that you know about the question types, but this is a flaw question where the correct answer is, well, you've made you have necessarily assumed something that just doesn't have to be true. And by the way, um, that would have been my objection in the first place before I ever even read the question.